figured...
FAB Studio.
My bad. FAB Studio. Jesus.
I call them a Sculpted B-Pillar.
I love this studio. It's so unique. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. What's up, guys? We're at Morgan's shop and we're going to be introducing this beast. This was in the last episode that we did at Morgan's shop. We figured...
FAB Studio.
My bad. FAB Studio. Jesus. At the FAB Studio. You know, it was in the last episode. You guys got to see some progress on it. There's been a lot of progress since then, and Morgan kind of wants to take us through that. You guys are going to be seeing some regular updates on this thing. It's going to be, this is a pretty serious project from the ground up here.
Almost from the ground up.
Almost from the ground up.
So, just the skeleton is kind of left, just the underside carcass.
Well, let's check this thing out, guys. Morgan's going to take us through it. Morgan, feel free to take this camera from my hand.
I think I will with some of the detailed stuff, but we can just do a rotation here.
All right.
I've gotten a lot of feedback about this thing. I call it a luxury exotic pre-runner. There is luxury pre-runners, and I get that you could coin that, but I think just the end result with this truck will definitely represent more of like an exotic car. You know, you have like a luxury car, and you have those standards like a Mercedes or a BMW or anything, and then you have exotics. The classics are like Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, stuff like that. So just some of the design and the materials and the finish work might be above just a luxury kind of concept.
So it's definitely different from, like, you know, pre-runners that we feature, and this is one thing about this build that we want you guys to know, is that this is definitely a really special build. It's a different kind of build. It's not something that a lot of people are going to be building, but the fact that Morgan linked up with this guy who's really about it, you know what I mean? He really wanted Morgan to kind of just go free with it. Is that cool to say?
Yeah, Thomas is just, you know, he's one of my clients that we met a while back, and this thing wasn't intended, like, it was almost just to just finish this thing, and he had it like a roller and sheet metal, and it's just turned into more of an example of what can be done, example of like a true, like a dream pre-runner for Thomas, and something where it's just the finish work and the way things are executed, and, you know, more than anything else, the design, the emphasis in design, and that's why I run Morgan Clarke Design. This is just a flagship of how we build luxury pre-runners, and this is something that if another one comes down the line, you know, I have projects lined up and they're going to get the same treatment. This is the first example of what a pre-runner looks like through my eyes. So
let's get on this thing, man.
There's just been feedback about, you know, if you like look on my Instagram, there's definitely some posts pretty consistently updated on there as far as the progress. Last time we looked at this thing, it was bare chassis. There was headers in here, and I think exhaust. There was no shock mounts in the rear. So we came a long ways. Can kind of go, let me see this thing.
Go for it, man.
Last time there was no shock mounts. These are all in now. They're a part of the chassis. They're all chrome ollie plate. A lot of times in these trucks, you have a service area where you have to access the shocks from inside the cab. This thing is set up where you can get to them easy from the outside. You'll see this compartment in the rear. This is a secondary air system from Vintage Air. That's a cooling and a heating unit. It's called, I think, a trunk unit. That's packaged in there. It's offset just so we can have more packaging and more room for stuff here. It'll be just a covered panel here. You know, and to touch back on this really quick, I help James out and I help Terra crew out with going and looking at awesome vehicles and going through them. And so I think this is kind of just a good look at, like, you know, where my imagination goes or where my creativity comes out. And I appreciate, you know, seeing all these other vehicles, and it's like a special hack for me because I get to go and, like, even though I'm talking to people about them, I'm like a little kid, so I'm like, ooh, I get to, you know, scope this stuff out and see it. So part of this is just to show you guys, you know, that this is what I do, and this is, you know, how I do things, and it's my craft and it's my passion. I don't feel like I work a real job. You know, I do love what I do, and it doesn't feel like work to me. I'm happy to be here every day, and I'm happy to work on every single project that we have. So to touch back on this, a lot of the tin you'll see is done. I'm not going to go into these B-pillars yet. I want to kind of start in the stages. So the shock mounts are finalized and done. The exterior of those shock mounts, there we go. So you'll see the shock mount, the pivots for the shock mounts are integrated into the chassis, and this thing's sealed. So this is all sheet metal that's been added, and it's blended into the chassis. So when this thing gets paint and it gets coated, it's just going to look seamless. But what I wanted, you can kind of see here how there's bare tubes showing it, and a lot of time when you panel something from one side, the other side looks so unfinished and barren, you know, where you just see the back side of the tube and you see the panel in it. It's also an area where mud and debris can be trapped. So these, I call these kind of dog houses where the shocks go. These are fully sealed from the outside too, so when that is all assembled, there's plenty of room to get your hardware in and out and service the bypasses. But you know, it adds a level of finish work when the truck is all complete, where it's not just a unfinished cavity. The same with all the link pivots, everything is sealed. So you can see that the upper link pivot and lower pivot, that box is integrated into the sheet metal. This is a removable vented panel that will vent exhaust gases, and it's kind of a tunnel from the front, which I'll show you too, where it's an airflow tunnel. So it will get rid of some of this heat that comes from the engine and comes from the exhaust. This is all 3.5-inch stainless exhaust, custom X pipe. And you see that's part of that storage box there. It's not finished welded yet. But you can kind of see there's just a real streamlined look going on here. And right now our focus is just getting all the cab buttoned up. And then we'll move on, like the bump stops are mocked up here. But we'll move on to the back side of the truck and the front of the truck once the cab's buttoned up. So I crawled under here again, you guys, just to show you a little more. You can see this is still the underside. You see your upper link pivots and your lower link pivots. And I wanted to show you too some of the packaging on this thing. This is a removable panel, and some of this will be open here, but you can see that there's Odyssey batteries on each side. So those things hang out. They can be mounted in any orientation you want. So they're vertically mounted right now, and that's fine. Everything is perfectly symmetrical per side. So you'll see one on that side too. It's kind of the guts of this thing. Now we'll move to the front.
Dude, it's crazy to know that this is going to go off-road. Because this feels so... I don't know anything about hot rod stuff. And I mean, RJ's the man. So
RJ is the man.
When RJ
Rob
sees
John.
this, you know, he's going to understand. But just knowing that this thing's going to be bombing through real scary places,
yeah,
or with the capability to. So I don't know if he's going to actually do it. But if he does, that this is what it's built for. It's built to go through.
That's the thing. So... even though it's got sheet metal like this and it's got design, and you know, there's definitely a look to this that might be a little different than most. The underpinnings of this, meaning the foundation and the structure, you know, it's 2-inch chromoly everywhere. It's going to be a big swing set, center mount front kit, front sway bar, rear sway bar, big shocks all around, trophy truck, everything. The pedigree underneath the truck will be capable of whatever you want. The center section and the structure that we did in the middle is capable of race pace for thousands of miles. So I want to make sure, you know, and it's the same with my client, we want to make sure that the truck can be, you know, just as functional as any other luxury pre-runner, but just be finished out in a certain way that represents, you know, the brand and my work. And that's where we're at. So it's like we needed to get all our ducks in a row as far as just, you know, the rear travel, the suspension, the geometry, the motor package, the fuel cell, the front end, everything kind of needed to be dialed there first, and now we can just dress this thing. So it's like we have the body and the skeleton underneath, and now we just dress it. Here, you can take this for a second.
Yeah, let's do it.
Last time James went through this with me, he made some kind of a Squidward comment about the header.
Yeah, dude.
Those are in there still. So that's, you can kind of see that that's a void in the firewall. If you look on the driver's side, this is all removable paneling.
Okay.
And what this does, the headers are in there. This acts as a serviceability area. So when these come off, I can get in there, or whoever's working on this thing, they can get in there and access anything they need to. So same with the access panels in the firewall area. All that stuff is built specifically for servicing the engine and the trans and the accessories and the headers and the spark plugs.
Nice.
You know, and the starter and everything else. So, you know, these are not only just, I mean, they look good, but it's more for functionality, where this is going to get airflow going into that chamber where the exhaust is. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you take them off and you can work on the thing.
Nice.
And so that's why it shows you on the passenger side, like this is with the panels off. Everything's tabbed. everything's right, but I can get in here, I can do whatever I need to. You know, that gives me access to all the front, plus I can get to the accessories on the side.
Right.
Then when you go inside,
super more convenient, and I mean like it just
more convenient.
It makes things so much more easier for whoever's prepping, or if you're out running somewhere and you got to check on stuff.
Yeah. So this is, you know, you can kind of see this void from chassis to floor. The exhaust runs under there. This will be a little lower here, but what it does is it just kind of funnels all the air into that center section, and that's where that venting came out in the rear. It's just one big tunnel of airflow that goes out the rear. So, you know, you're not going to get super heat-soaked areas in there. And heat-soaked, I mean just a cavity of the vehicle where it's just hot air just saturating, you know, causing more heat, damaging parts, making things
flowing out, just flowing through.
Same with the access panels. This is, you know, starter access. Any bolts you need to get to there, spark plug access. Then there's a big one back here. This would get your mid plate. This would get your intake. This would get spark plugs back here, header bolts. All that is accounted for there. You can see this other piece, and you can see it kind of reflecting in the windshield.
Okay.
This is a removable center cowl.
This is wild, man.
So it kind of, the design reflects the rest of the truck, but it also reflects lungs. And that's kind of themed to the intake there and the carbon intake that's shown. So these will be display windows. These will have 1/4 inch thick glass, seamless, no hardware, and the dash and the instrument panel will kind of butt up to it. So all the hardware where you see these clecos, these are just temporary fasteners. This panel will kind of live in the truck. If you need to pull the engine out, you need to pull the windshield, you need to pull the dash, and then you pull this panel out. And then your engine comes out. So that's just going to be a nice piece where, like, you'll see in some like utility trucks, they have, you know, maybe on the dash in the middle they have like a place where you put your pens, or like a clipboard, or, you know, something with your papers or change. So
well, no, I love this, dude. It's so unique. I don't think I've personally never seen anything like that, dude. It's like I don't know what kind of vibe it is, but it seems I just thought, like flux capacitor, dude.
I just thought the engine is so far back in there, and we're gonna have like a nice. The guy who's doing our engine, it's a nice package, and so you know, we have a nice intake in there. It's fully custom, so it's like, why not be able to show part of the powertrain? Because when the engine's all said and done, and all the accessories are on, and the shocks are on, and the truck's paneled, you're not going to know what's in there, and you never do. You just look in there and go, oh, the engine's in there somewhere.
Right, but there it is.
Yeah, and it's cool because you don't...
The engine aquarium, bro.
Even how you are looking at it right there, you're more or less going to see it like this. Like when I'm looking at it from here, look, like you can see the reflection on the windshield.
Oh, that's right.
And it shows on the windshield.
Yeah. So
that's kind of, you know, when you're driving, you're going to see that, you know, and it's not... You're not going to, like I said, you're not going to see this hardware. This is all stuff you'll never see. This is just sheet metal to enclose the truck.
That's wild, dude.
And then there's another AC unit that goes here, so there'll be 2 air conditionings. I think I mentioned that before. Seat sliders. It's a low-profile seat slider. So Marcel, I designed that, and Marcel developed it in SolidWorks.
Marcy Tech, what up, my dude?
Yeah. So that thing, it's on an actuator. It has 8 inches of travel. It holds a shell seat. I have them, you know, for a couple different style seats. We just got that for the passenger and the driver. Obviously, for the driver, you get more adjustment if you have someone else hop in. The other nice thing is a lot of people like to strap in to their harnesses, and then they scoot the seat forward, and it gives them like a real nice tighten, because sometimes you can't get your lap belts as much as you want.
Yeah, if you're changing drivers and moving around.
Yeah, but even just yourself, if you just tighten your lap belts and then you scoot forward, you know, you hit a switch and you scoot forward, it gives you that extra bit where you can get tightened up nice.
Very nice.
So the third seat, that's just a fixed mount. That's going to be like that. And this void here, next time you guys check back in, there will be a whole storage unit here that's a whole different surface.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Another thing too, there's a storage unit under the seats. We kind of wanted to be able to use the space right in here where it's not stuff flopping around or just sitting in a void, where we can have like a dedicated sealed, you know, access panel style storage unit like a boat would have, you know.
Right. Underneath
you open it and you're like, oh cool, you know, a boat would obviously have like, you know, towels or sandals or whatever.
Right.
But this, you can You have your fire suppression system that's in here on each side.
Okay.
Just to kind of show it, and you can service that, and you can check on the bottle, and then you can, you know, fit whatever you need to fit in there, and then it'll be the same as the other storage panel.
Very cool.
So I think next time you guys see it, this will definitely be sealed up. Everything will be done inside the cab. We'll probably be starting on the dash and the center console stuff, and then I think probably want to know about these too, so we can cover these for a second.
Let's do it, dude.
I call them a sculpted B-Pillar, and it kind of got us. It got us out of hot water with the B-Pillar setup that was in here before.
How so?
There was just some design elements and some structural elements of how the original B-Pillar was before I got the truck. And it might have worked for their application, but it doesn't work for this application. That's the best way to say it.
Okay.
These are fully structural. They're not sheet metal. They're solid.
It's made to take a roll.
Yeah, so it's a lot of B-Pillar because there's a 2-inch tube in here that's 120 wall. It's all chromoly. 2-inch 120 wall, 3/4 120 wall, and then 90 wall chromoly plate, sandwiching that welded, blended, and finished. Right. So they're completely structural. They're something different, and I just think with the design, if you really start to stand back from it and look at the whole truck as a whole, there's a strong design element where every shape and every radius, you know, and big radiuses into tight radius tensions, you know, all these shapes all kind of do the same thing as the rest of the shapes that are in here. It's not just a generic design. It's very thought about and processed through everything. Mm-hmm. The same with the A that comes to the windshield here. This is aero tubing. It's kind of hard to see, but it's...
Oh, yeah, with that. Go ahead, check it out.
Let me see if I can get it.
Probably see it.
It's a special shape, and you can see it's almost like a teardrop.
Yeah.
And that strongly represents the B-pillars as well.
Yeah, you can see it pretty good from here, man.
Okay.
Kind of wrap around it that way. Yeah, that's wild.
Form follows function's a big thing that I say all the time, and it's just that means, you know, making a form and a shape or a design that originally follows the main function and purpose of what it's built for. You know, so there's ways to build stuff and it's just fully functional, but there's also ways to do it with the same functionality
and the same design
and style it to what makes it and suits it best for the application. Same with this. This is an integrated handle that's built into the A-pillar. So this isn't like a oh shit handle. This is just a handle to get yourself in the truck. Like if you need to get over your seat and get in, you have a solid grab right here. You know, and when that's upholstered and stuff, it'll still be seen. But it's kind of just, it's a nice piece to have.
No, that's way cool.
And it also, like, you know, I mean, a lot of off-road guys probably don't care, but when your seats are super nice, you want to keep them pristine where you can let yourself kind of drop into the seat instead of just slide over the tall part of it and the bolster on the side.
Right.
And just have wear and tear on that thing from sliding in and out, you know. And, you know, who knows who's getting in here, but it's like if you wanted your mom or someone to get in there.
Yeah, dude, you gotta take mom for a ride,
maybe
bro.
Maybe you got a broken foot, you know? Maybe your ribs cracked.
Yeah, you want to be comfortable, man. You want to get in
it made sense to, like, it's OEM style where you'd have, in a pickup truck, you have, like, a built-in grab. And it's the same kind of thing. It's still a truck.
Right.
So it's like, why not have just a grab? And on top of that, when you're sitting in here and you're in like a technical section, already I tried to get the seats a little higher than normal just so you can get over the front clip and get visibility. But it's really good because you can see, it's just another little void of opening where if you're in a technical section and you need to see something, maybe it's just the extra little bit that you need to safely get through somewhere.
When's the next update? Like in a couple months or?
We're waiting on parts for the front. I'll be on this thing and in here. I need to wait for Thomas to come back. When he comes back next, we're going to sit in this thing together and I'm going to start sketching out all the instrument panel, all the dash.
Okay.
Everybody I work with whatever projects, especially something that's intensive like this with design, I sketch it out. I just draw it all by hand. So we'll sit in here together and we'll kind of figure out the proportions, the direction we want to go, the inspiration we want to use.
Right.
And start doing that, just roughly sketch it. and then I'll finalize a couple renderings for him in 3D, and we'll sign off on that, and then that's where I'm going to start getting on the good stuff.
Right on.
This is all fun, but the dash and some of the door treatment and stuff like that.
That's what you love to do, huh?
It's really going to shine. Yeah,
Very
when
cool.
you start getting 3D surfaces.
Heck
this
yeah.
is kind of what you call like a flat panel style sheet metal stuff.
Right.
So once you start getting 3D surfaces where you're welding and blending edges, like just lots of transitions and shapes, and just that's where I like to go. So
hell yeah, dude.
So
well, very cool, man.
Back.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Well, stay tuned for this. We'll be looking at this thing in about a month and a half. We will have some really cool progress to share with you guys for this thing. If you guys have any questions for Morgan about anything in regards to this thing, I'm sure you guys do. Please reach out to him. We'll have obviously his contact in there. You guys know how to get a hold of him. Other than that, that's pretty much it, right?
Yep. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for checking it out.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Later.
Guys.